Jefferson County for you along 55, about 65, 70 miles per hour, continuing on to the east right through Arnold there. Again, it's right at the speed limit and no major visibility issues just yet. Let's check in with Roger Brand live in Sky 4 this morning, watching a stretch of 270 where we already have a lane closure. Roger. Having some trouble connecting with Roger, but per usual, 270 right at Manchester. We have one northbound lane closed down. In fact, we also have part of the exit toward Doherty Ferry closed down as well. Some early morning volume, but so far no real major issues, slowing things down and no crashes throughout the metro area. I am continuing to monitor this fog and haze, particularly along 44 in those typical areas right near 109. But so far, like I said, not causing any major issues, but I'll continue to watch that. For now, Kent, we'll send things over to you. Looking for another 80-degree day today, but first, got to get through this fog and haze.
Well, you saw the fog there that in your image from 270 in Manchester, also getting reports of light fog at Lambert and also in St. Charles this morning. So nothing too heavy yet, but it's out there and you may encounter, and it may thicken up before we get through the morning. False returns at the center of the screen here. A few light showers over Reynolds County. That's all the rain. But we do have two fronts. The first one moving through now. The second one will move through this evening, and that one's really going to help make for some good weather later this week. Temperatures near 70 degrees across the area right now. 72 in St. Louis and Festus. Alton at 68 degrees. Looks like a patchy fog morning. Again, a little hazy in spots. A spotty rain to the south, but really not an issue. Winds are light from the northwest. After the muggy start, we'll see a few showers later today and then cooler, less humid weather on the way for the rest of the week. We'll check that super predictor and plot out the storms for you that we do expect later today coming up on my next report.
Okay, sounds like a plan, Kent. Thank you. Overnight, we've had several news crews out in Ferguson tracking the breaking news for you.
They've been capturing scenes like these. Huge groups of people rioting and looting in Ferguson. Live team coverage coming up.
Last week, this was a stop on the way to work in the morning to get some coffee. Now it is the charred, absolutely destroyed evidence of the anger and chaos that broke out in this community yesterday. Coming up after the break, we'll talk to a woman who lives nearby, get her firsthand reaction for you.
Hey, and I'm Nick Zervos. We're here at Radio Shack where I'll show you the damage that happened over here. Back to you guys.
.614, welcome back to News 4 this morning. We are covering the breaking news out of Ferguson, and these aerial views really tell the story of what happened overnight. A lot of chaos, rioting, looting going on in Ferguson as we look at the Quick Trip that was burned, charred to the ground.
And speaking of that Quick Trip, Sky Zoom 4 over the scene, hovering above Emily Rao, who's right there on the ground, giving us a closer look at the damage, as well as a live interview with a woman living in that neighborhood. Emily.
That's right, Andre. We can hear Sky Zoom 4 above us. You see behind us here what we're dealing with, a completely destroyed Quick Trip, standing right next to an ATM that was torn from that building. It is destroyed and now just sitting here on the parking lot. But we're getting to talk to people from this community now this morning. I want to bring in Diana Gamble. Thank you for speaking with us this morning. Saw you coming to take pictures. You mentioned you usually come here for coffee. What was it like coming up and seeing all of this morning?
Unacceptable. Unimaginable and unbelievable. I mean, I look at all of the trash and all of the looting. For what purpose? And for what sense does it make? No words. Just no words.
You live just a couple blocks away. You said it was very loud. Tell us about what it was like last night.
The noise, the shouting, the language, and it seemed like you could tell when they moved to another location. And the gunfire, I kept on hearing a lot of shooting back and forth. Of course, the helicopters overhead. Just unbelievable.
Had to be pretty scary for you.
Very scary. Very scary. Don't condone this. I don't believe anyone that lives in this community condones this. Ferguson is relatively a quiet, livable community. But tonight was an eye-opener.
Thank you so much for talking to us. I know a lot of people share your sentiments about all of this. Very hard for people to kind of get out and see all of the damage. I keep seeing people drive by and they cover their faces just kind of in disbelief at all of this damage, the extent of it this morning. And it's a long area, just talking about up and down West Florissant Road, just how much damage we're seeing. But as you just heard, very upsetting for some of the people who live in this community.
All right, Emily, great perspective from a woman who lives in the neighborhood. And when you see that scene from Sky Zoom 4,
it's just so dramatic.
It is eye-opening.
Devastating scene. And now we're going to get another perspective. Nick Zervos, photojournalist, showing us some more damage. At least a dozen businesses hit by looters overnight. Nick, where are you right now, and what are you going to show us?
Andre, I'm on Northwest Florissant, and this is over there by that Sam's and Walmart shopping center. There's a Radio Shack over here and a shoe carnival. This is the Radio Shack. A lot of damage, a lot of property stolen from this store. Let me just show you some of the store shelves right here as I look through the front door. All gone, everything gone out of this store. It's just, I mean, they just took everything out of here and tipped over all the cases, broke all the glass. All the I haven't found one TV in here yet, and there's always TVs in Radio Shack. And a lot of the cell phones are just taken out. You can see the big plate glass window right here. A lot of damage. And just I've been talking to people that are driving by here also, and just like Emily's person she talked to, everyone is just so embarrassed about what happened here last night. It's just horrible.
All right, Nick, thank you for that perspective of the strip mall there and all the damage. Also want to let everybody know that the Jennings School District, we're just learning this morning, will not be starting the first day of school today, they say, due to the unsafe conditions. So at this point, the Jennings School District will have its first day of school tomorrow on Tuesday. If that changes, we, of course, will keep you posted on that. But really gets your attention when a school district has to delay the start of school because of unsafe conditions. So we'll keep you posted on that. We're going to get to the weather, mild Monday, in just a minute. But first, Alyssa has an eye on the roads.
Yeah, and we're kind of tag teaming because of this fog and haze out there today. So far, no real issues.
Widespread, but it's pretty thin.
It is, sure. You can see it on all of our Gateway Guide cameras. So let's start out in the St. Charles area, 70 just to the west of the Blanchette Bridge. And you can see the headlights and taillights. So as Kent said, it is light, but we're continuing to monitor this in the event that it does cause any real visibility issues. But you see here eastbound and westbound continuing to run pretty smoothly. I'll bring you to our maps here and give you a quick look. 70 and 370 all checking in at 60 miles per hour, both eastbound and westbound. But I've just gotten word of a stall blocking one lane 70 eastbound right near Mid-Rivers Mall Drive. So crews on the way to clear that. But for now, you may need an extra minute or two and be aware that they're there in the road. Also getting word of a stall westbound 6440 approaching Kings Highway. That one also blocking one lane. Here's a quick look for you at the Gateway Guide camera 64 just near Tower Grove. As you can see, doesn't seem to be causing any major visibility issues just yet. Kent will send things over to you. And as you said, widespread. We see it all the way over in Alton as well.
There you go. Let's give you the live view in Alton, show you the Clark Bridge and the haze and the fog. Again, it is light and patchy. Well, I shouldn't say patchy because it is pretty widespread, but it could get a little thicker in spots. So just be prepared for that on your morning commute. Otherwise, we're pretty much rain free. A couple of sprinkles held up into parts of Reynolds and Iron County, but not much rain. And very little expected today. Maybe a few this afternoon into this evening with high temperatures in the mid 80s today. You run the super predictor at noon, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock. You can see this line of very spotty showers or maybe a thunderstorm roll through. That's about it for rain. But that's a second front that brings in this really cooler, drier air that's going to make for some nice weather on Tuesday. I think we'll get into some sunshine, and you'll definitely notice the lower humidity beginning tonight through tomorrow and continuing to lower as we work our way into Wednesday as well. We'll have your 7-day outlook. We'll talk about the cooler days and the lower humidity coming up in my next report.
Okay, thank you very much, Kent. In addition to the breaking news, we have other news of the day to report. New this morning, St. Louis police are investigating several shootings happening last night. A 12-year-old boy is in the hospital after being shot in South St. Louis. It happened just before 10 p.m. at California and Cherokee. Police tell us a man and the boy were both shot in the back. The man is listed in critical condition. The boy is serious but stable. Police have no suspects at this time.
Less than an hour after that incident, a 43-year-old man was shot in the 3600 block of Salina. That's about 10 blocks east of the first shooting scene, also in South St. Louis. The victim suffered several gunshot wounds to the torso. He's been upgraded from critical to stable condition.
And police are investigating a third shooting in North St. Louis. A man was shot in the 3900 block of North Florissant last night around 9:30. No word on his condition. And coming up, much more live team coverage of our big breaking news this morning. The damage video continues to pour into our newsroom as looters run wild in Ferguson overnight, smashing storefront windows and stealing goods. We'll be right back.
6:24, time for weather and traffic on the 4s. Starting off a hazy commute for our Monday morning. Here's a look for you, 270 right near 367. Eastbound and westbound continuing to look good, but as we continue throughout the morning and that volume builds, we could encounter some visibility issues and some issues out on the road, so I'm watching it very closely. Here's a look for you coming over from Madison County, Granite City, Pontoon Beach. Expect about 5 minutes from 255 to the Chain of Rocks Bridge, but all in all, that's a great ride, 60 miles per hour. Here's a quick look at some of those key routes for you, 270 northbound from 44 to Manchester looking good, also along 170. Want to let you know that overnight closure of West Florissant Road up in the Ferguson area because of all of this breaking news that we've been covering. It has been reopened. Just got a live look from Sky Zoom 4 and traffic moving through without any issue. Kent will send things over to you. Watching a little activity on the Doppler radar.
Not much, though. Yeah, precious few drops fell over parts of, well, Phelps County had some pretty good rain, but then it kind of fell apart as it moved in toward Reynolds and Iron County. Those are false returns at the center of your screen. Temperatures are in the mid-80s for highs this afternoon, and when I say a few storms, I mean a few. We're talking late this afternoon into this evening. We'll probably see a couple of thunderstorms develop here or there, or maybe a shower, but I'm not expecting a lot of rain. The good news is some nice weather moving in. After all the rain we had, we're caught up now and actually a little ahead of the pace. So we got some good rain. Now we can get in some cooler, drier weather with highs in the low 80s, below normal, and the humidity lower tomorrow, even lower on Wednesday. Thursday looks like a nice day. Then we get back into a chance of showers and thunderstorms again on Friday and Saturday this week. Looks like highs this coming weekend in the mid to upper 80s.
Okay, Kent, thank you. Now, before the commercial break, we are going to give you another bird's eye view of the breaking news from Sky Zoom 4 of what is happening in Ferguson. A lot of riots and looting breaking out overnight. We've got you covered with team coverage of the chaos, where we stand at this point, as well as looking ahead to what will be taking place today. Stay with us here on News 4 this morning.
Live from KMOV, News 4 is covering breaking news.
Take a look at your TV screen right now. We're giving you a really good look this morning from Sky Zoom 4 over the scene along West Florissant in Ferguson, where riots broke out last night and at least a dozen stores were looted. It is Monday, August 11th. Thank you for waking up with us. I'm Andre Hepkins.
And I'm Claire Kellett. For the past several hours, we've been staying on top of the story, rioting and looting that broke out overnight in Ferguson. This started after a vigil last night for the 18-year-old shot and killed by Ferguson police over the weekend. And here you see his picture. This is 18-year-old Mike Brown. He was the one shot and killed by an officer in Ferguson on Saturday. St. Louis County Police are now investigating the events that led up to his death. This morning we have live team coverage for you. Our news crew spread out all across the Ferguson area, and we start with our Mike Colombo as an update on some of the damage this morning. Mike.
Yeah, Claire, this is the Hibbett Sports off New Halls Ferry. You can see the front of the store busted out behind me here. As you take a look at the sidewalk in front of the store, you can see empty shoe boxes here left behind by looters. We want to show you video shot last night. This is going to give you some evidence and detail of exactly what was going on. You can see here men walking into the store, taking a look around to see what they could find, going, getting exactly what they wanted, and then running out of the store. You're going to see 4 or 5 people here through all of this video run inside to the Hibbett Sports location, grab as many shoes and apparel as they could, and walk out. In a moment here, you are also going to see video of when officers got on scene. 2 armed officers will walk in with guns pointed, and you're seeing that on your screen right now. They come into contact with several of the subjects inside the store. Those subjects, at least from what we were able to tell out here at the scene, cooperated with police at that point, but we can tell you that last night there were over 30 arrests made as a result of some of the looting and other violence that took place in Ferguson, Jennings, and many of the surrounding communities here. This morning we can tell you that the family of Mike Brown, the victim in this violence from earlier in the weekend, has denounced the actions of the looters and rioters last night. In fact, we have seen reports that they may not continue to go to any other vigils that may be held. As you can see, this scene behind me here, certainly not the peaceful situation that was supposed to be last night. Very violent, very angry, but still one of those situations where two wrongs does not make a right. It is a story that we will continue to follow here. Many more angles, many more storylines. For now, Claire Andre, back to you.
And Mike, you just showing us another angle, dramatic video of officers with guns drawn confronting looters inside one of those stores. At least a dozen looted overnight in the wake of that deadly shooting of Mike Brown.
News 4's Laura Hediger continuing our live team coverage this morning. She's been talking with police, really, Laura, minute by minute, getting new information.
And Claire and Andre, if the scene behind me doesn't look like much, it's because it really isn't anymore. In fact, you see a county police officer getting ready to pull out of this Target parking lot. When I got on the scene, around 3:40 this morning, this entire parking lot was full of county police officers, SWAT officers, officers from about 15 to 20 different municipalities just lined up. It looked like a car dealership, car after car, so many officers around. Let's go ahead and take you to some of the overnight video when those officers were on the scene responding to some of those looting situations. As Mike mentioned, the count right now is 32 arrests in this. Now, county police are not sure what exactly these people will be charged with, if it'll be looting, burglary, something with firearms. We know that there were a lot of shots fired throughout the night. We also know that 2 officers were injured. One county police officer, in fact, hurt his knee when he was responding to a looting situation at the Foot Locker where I am, and another officer had a brick thrown at him. Another county officer told one of his peers that he was shot at last night, and we have also confirmed that the county police chopper was fired at overnight. When I got here on scene, it was very dark out. We could hear the police chopper, could not see any lights. They turned all those lights off for hopes that people would not see them, would not be firing at them anymore. But even though it is calm behind me live this morning, this day is just beginning, and only time will tell what exactly is going to happen. We know at 10 o'clock this morning, there should be a news conference at Ferguson Police Headquarters. We're also being told that there will be a rally and a protest, and if Ferguson Police feel like they need reinforcements, they will be calling St. Louis County Police again. I just talked to a county officer who left the scene. He's heading back to headquarters in Clayton. He will be meeting with Police Chief John Belmar, deciding where do they go from here? What can they do to help Ferguson handle all these situations? Because keep in mind, Ferguson is in charge of all the break-ins that happened overnight. But anytime I do get updates from police, I'll pass them along to all of you. Claire and Andre, back to you guys.
Laura, great job tracking down all of that information for us this morning.
So many angles to the story, and that's why News 4 is committed to covering the story from the air and the ground. And now we're going to go to another crew on the ground, photojournalist Nick Zervos at a Radio Shack just in shambles. Nick.
Well, actually, Andre, I'm at the shoe carnival just a few stores down, but as you can see, they're cleaning up pretty quickly here. They broke out all their windows. They were broken out by car batteries. But you can see they're going through their inventory right now and making sure what was stolen, what was not, and they're going to try to give us a number before the end of the newscast. Now, let me give you a look at the batteries they used to break the windows. Here's one of them right here, and they just break right through this window here, and they were just, cleared the glass out and ran in and got whatever they could. The Radio Shack is up this way about 5 stores away, and it is still open, but no manager has been there. You can see people standing around in front of it. There's an AT&T store right next to that, and that manager there that I talked to him, he's still cleaning up, trying to get everything cleaned up before daybreak here. But it's just a lot for these small business owners to deal with right now. They're just a little overwhelmed trying to get their employees in to help clean up and to help do some inventory and stuff like that. But yeah, that's what's going on right here, is just cleanup.
Hey, Nick, you and your camera have covered a lot of ground this morning. I mean, how many of these damaged businesses have you been to this morning?
Well, I've covered at least 5 or 6. Some I fed in the video to, the others I was live at. And yeah, a lot of damage, just doors, cars that just ran into doors and broke it open so people could go in, bricks, a lot of trash spewing around. And they just took everything and ran out. Sometimes you'd see it out in the parking lot, they just wouldn't take everything with them. And then you just see all the trash out in the parking lot. That's a lot of the inventory of some of these stores right here. I've seen, cell phones, bullets. I've seen clothes. I've seen TV boxes. I've seen, all kinds of things. But it is getting cleaned up here. It is getting cleaned up here pretty quickly. So in about an hour from now, you won't even tell anything ever happened here.
All right,
Back
Nick, thank you for the latest. We appreciate your input this morning. Now we're going to send things to Alyssa Reitmeyer as we transition to weather and traffic. And Alyssa, you're starting 70 at Shreve.
Yeah, and I'm just getting word of a stalled vehicle in the westbound lanes. This is happening a little bit closer to Kings Highway, but this is the 70 at Shreve camera. You can see currently blocking this left lane. This has been here for about 15 minutes, and you can see this is really starting to back up. Only 2 westbound lanes currently getting through. Here's a look coming into downtown at all of our major interstates. You can see for the most part things continuing to run smoothly, but of course expect delays here westbound along 70. Here's a look at another one of our Gateway Guide cameras for you. 64 right at McKnight. Those eastbound and westbound lanes continuing to look good. In fact, not seeing as much of that fog and haze along 6440 as we're seeing out to the west on 70 right near the Blanchette Bridge, and even along 44 throughout those areas that typically do develop that. Want to let you know I'm also getting word of a stalled vehicle 270 southbound on the ramp onto 70, so I'll continue to watch that, but MoDOT is saying do expect some delays along that stretch. Kent, will send things over to you. Definitely just a dark and dreary Monday morning.
It is. Yeah, we've got that widespread, albeit not too thick on the fog. This is basically light, widespread fog. You can see what's going on in Alton at this hour. And again, a gloomy start to a Monday on a number of levels in our area. Temperatures, radar this is all false returns that you're seeing in here, and all the rain has just about dried up down to the south. There were a few showers over Phelps County this morning. We actually have 2 fronts at work here, one that's moving through now. Here comes a second one. Boy, this is really going to dry things out and cool it down as we go into the week. The temperatures near 70, 72 in St. Louis, upper 60s for the cooler spots in places like Warrenton and Rollins, Centralia, but Farmington and Potosi at 70 degrees this morning. So some light but widespread fog. I don't want to call it patchy anymore. Near 70. Northwest winds are light this morning. We are looking at a muggy start to the day and a few showers later this afternoon. I'll show you those on the Super Predictor, but cooler, less humid weather on the way. So we'll talk about all of that coming up in my next report.
Okay, Kent, the violence, rioting, and looting in Ferguson have grabbed national attention. A crew from CBS This Morning is in St. Louis talking to the community where tensions remain high. A live report from Ferguson coming up at the top of the hour.
And we are live from Ferguson from the quick trip that you can see is completely destroyed here behind me, talking to members of this community about how they're reacting to seeing the extensive damage here this morning. We'll have a live report for you coming up right after the break.
.642, welcome back to News 4 this morning as we take a live look here at Lambert Airport. 70-ish degrees to start off the day. You'll notice it is pretty dreary outside, foggy and humid, and we'll be climbing into the 80s today. Kent is also tracking the possibility of storms throughout the week. We'll check in with him in just a bit. Want to get now back to our breaking news from overnight. We are showing you here more new video out of Ferguson. These images from right outside the Family Dollar store there, the state SWAT team arriving and police officers taking several people into custody.
In News 4's Emily Rao getting a better look at some of the damage. She's live this morning outside of a burnt down Quick Trip. Emily.
That's right, Andre. Take a look here behind me. Totally destroyed here. You see right in front of us. This is an ATM torn out of the Quick Trip. You see it here, the keyboard, receipt paper, totally destroyed. We're told people were throwing rocks at this, trying to break it open. It doesn't look like that happened, but these things are bolted to the ground. It is a solid block, and it's hard to believe people got it out got it this far, though. Take a look, though. Completely destroyed Quick Trip, those charred remains. You see the writing on the bricks out there. One message says RIP Mike, another to the St. Louis County Police. But we're at the point now where the sun is up. You're getting a better picture of everything that's going on. And a lot of people have started to kind of drive through this area, gather around to see what's going on. A lot of comments about how they're in disbelief at just how bad this damage is. The national media is here doing interviews to tell you just the scope and how big of a story this is. But really, so many people very upset about what happened. They say this is not what they wanted. This does not help any cause at all to come out and see all of this destruction. One woman made the comment, this is where she usually gets her coffee every morning. Now the people inside do not have jobs because of the damage done. But still a lot to get here this morning. We are talking to people, kind of getting their first reactions. Also some witnesses who were here last night when everything happened. So we'll have much more for you this morning. But for now, Claire and Andre, back to you.
What are you seeing? You said you're scared. What are you seeing?
I'm seeing people doing stuff like breaking into stores and stuff and just doing bad stuff.
What stores did they break into?
Quick Trip.
What did they take out? Did you see them run out with anything?
Everything. They destroy everything.
You're saying that people are getting disruptive. What was happening?
Well, you know, it's not the family because I'm part of the family. But the people up there started throwing bottles. They caused the police to come down here. It was supposed to be peaceful. That's not peaceful, throwing bottles and beer cans and stuff like that.
All of the rioting, all the looting we've been tracking overnight following a deadly police-involved shooting over the weekend.
18-year-old Mike Brown, you see here in his graduation photo from Normandy High School, shot and killed by a police officer in Ferguson Saturday afternoon. And now St. Louis County Police are investigating, trying to figure out all the events that led up to the shooting. They say that came after a struggle. Now, News 4 spoke with his mother, who was gripped by grief when we spoke to her shortly after her son's death.
You took my son away from me. You know how hard it was for me to get him to stay in school and graduate? You know how many black men graduate? Not many. Because you bring them down to this type of level where they feel like I don't got nothing to live for anyway. They're going to try to take me out anyway. They wonder.
No doubt this is a huge story. A lot of things going on with it today.
And you can depend on News 4 to keep you covered all morning and all day long. At 10 o'clock this morning, St. Louis County Police are going to hold a news conference giving us an update on their investigation. We understand that civil rights leader Reverend Al Sharpton is expected to make a trip to Ferguson. He says he wants to meet with the family of Michael Brown in person either tonight or tomorrow. And the family, will understand, also planning a news conference later today with their attorney. That is expected at 4 o'clock this afternoon.
We'll have complete coverage here on News 4 and KMOV.com. Now we send things over to Alyssa Reitmeyer as we started traffic in St. Clair County.
Yeah, and our speed sensor is not reflecting too much of a delay, but the fog really rather dense all the way over into the Metro East. So here's a look at those speeds for you, starting to slow down on 64 just to the west of 255, but 5570 and 255 continuing to look good. Let me bring you a live look from Sky Zoom 4. Mark Griffin over our downtown bridges, and you can certainly see where that's starting to slow near the merge, and you can barely see into downtown St. Louis here because of that fog and haze. So we're watching as we may have some reduced visibility. Let's check in with Roger Brand. He's in Sky 4 watching a stretch of the roadway here 70 right at Shreve.
Yeah, that's right, Alyssa. And this is getting better in the last few minutes. This is thinned out. We did have a stall westbound Highway 70 near Kings Highway that was in the right-hand lane. Obviously, it's been cleared. As you can see, this traffic on the right-hand side of your screen. That's westbound travelers headed through Shreve and Kings Highway. The pace is picked up and they're back on the move, so good news here. Live from the JimButlerChevrolet.com Traffic Center, I'm Captain Roger Brand.
All right, Roger, thank you. And those of you headed over the Jefferson Barracks Bridge, no reduced speeds there, but I am also seeing the fog. But again, 65, 60 miles per hour once you get over the JB Bridge and up to the north 255 and 270, starting to see that volume build and slow things down. Kent, we'll send things over to you, kind of tag teaming with this visibility issue.
Yeah, we're looking at the clouds now, mostly cloudy skies, a couple of breaks here and there. And as Alyssa mentioned, and we've been kind of tracking this morning, we have our share of widespread fog this morning, although it's not too thick. Let's talk about those visibilities across the area. By the way, that is our River City Casino Eye on St. Louis camera. And right now, visibility in miles across the area. Centralia and Flora down to a mile, 3-mile visibility at Belleville and Rolla. So again, you can see this fog is rather light, but also widespread. Normal visibility with clear air is 10 miles or greater, and we're not seeing that this morning. We are seeing false returns in here. A couple of light showers, dried up for the most part as they moved into Reynolds and Iron County. Temperatures kind of centered on 70 degrees across the area right now. In the metro, we're at 72 in St. Louis, 70 in Fenton and Shiloh. Alton's down to 68. The high 85 today. A couple of late afternoon or evening thunderstorms. Really not much rain expected. There we are at 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and then beyond. Things dry up pretty good. Really, the rainfall forecast, not looking for much rainfall today. None in the forecast for tomorrow. In fact, this drier air is going to bring the humidity down. It's going to bring the temperatures down. And I think for overall, you're going to enjoy the weather pattern as we get into Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of this week with the cooler days and the lower humidity. We'll talk about that in your 7-day outlook in my next report.
Now, Andre Hepkins, Claire Kellett, meteorologist Kent Earhart, and traffic with Alyssa Reitmeyer and Captain Roger Brand. This is News 4 This Morning.
It's 6:49 in the morning, and now we want to give you a quick recap of the breaking news we've been covering for you all morning long since 4 a.m.
Riots, looting, and really just chaos overnight in Ferguson. As you see on your screen, we have live team coverage. Our reporters out checking in with police, as well as assessing the damage. We start with our Laura Hediger.
And Claire, my job this morning has been to stay in close contact with police. This parking lot is what was the staging area for officers. When we first got here about 3 hours ago, it was full of officers from all over St. Louis County. Want to throw out a few numbers for you so far. We are told about 300 officers worked all those scenes last night. We know at least 12 businesses were targeted and at least 32 people have been arrested. Police do think as the day continues that number could go up. We also know 2 police officers were injured. It does not appear that those injuries were life-threatening. We'll stay in close contact with police all day, bring you the latest updates as we get them. Mike, out to you.
Yeah, Laura, I am live at the Hibbett Sports location off Newhall's Ferry, and you can see the broken window behind me here. Looters choosing to break this window, go inside, and steal boxes of shoes and other apparel here last night. Police came in at one point with guns drawn, were able to stop some of those thieves before they took off, but this morning it is still unclear just exactly how much was taken from this store and over a dozen other stores in this area. A story we will continue to follow both from this location and many other, and that is why we're going to send it to News 4's Emily Rao.
Mike, we are live on West Florissant Avenue in the parking lot of the Quick Trip. Take a look. You see what's left of it behind me, looted, completely cleaned out, and then set on fire here last night. It is completely destroyed. You see the parking lot covered with garbage, broken glass. The community now coming out to check things out and see all of the damage. A lot of people very upset. You can feel that emotion in their voices. Take a look at this. An ATM from inside that store ripped out of the Quick Trip here. Tried to get inside of it. It doesn't look like anyone was successful here, but shows you just how strongly these people feel out here. We'll have much more coming up in live reports, but for